All right, so quick recap. We have Ethereum Classic launched today on Poloniex. It's going to launch on Bitfinex. It currently has a third of the buy support and about half the trading volume and around 10% of the hashing network. So I'm just going to look at price action right now. Sometimes, and I'm not gonna say that this is a good idea, but I'm gonna share with you my thoughts and what I'm doing right now with ETHC. I see it has like more potential upside potential comparatively percentage wise to what Ethereum could pull off, or what Ether, just because it's really low right now, or it's one, what is it, 1/11th or 1/12th the price. Still a lot of volume though. So what I decided to do is usually I have a rule of thumb is usually when the markets look the most uncertain and scariest, there's usually a silver lining and a potential trade or investment opportunity. So I'm gonna apply I've applied my 33-66 rule to this just to have some skin in the game, right? So I bought a little bit of Ethereum Classic, full well knowing that the price could very well dump, because the DAO attacker and all that stuff, they could just dump 5%. Maybe the foundation, Ethereum Foundation, who might have a huge stake of Ethereum C, because anyone who owns a lot of Ether will also have ETHC. So any one of them could dump, but a dump could end up being a nice bounce play and a buying opportunity. So I did end up buying some just to have some. My entry price was into 13s, 0.001 13s. But I'm not investing. Let me just be very clear with this. I'm buying it to have some, just in case this gets pumped, because it obviously has a lot of liquidity, and it's possible that whales could decide to pump it. Like, obviously we know that the DAO hacker and all those people that they probably have a sizable amount of coins and might have an interest in keeping this alive. But there's also a very kind of strong Ethereum Classic thing happening right now, and I think this is all kind of game theory right now, because everyone who owns Ethereum has Ethereum Classic as well, right? So some people who were once just like pro Ethereum, now they're also incentivized to potentially be pro Classic because they could make money off of it. So we could see something like a greed factor kick into place here, where perhaps people realize, wow, there's actually more. It would be easier to make a 10x on a price that's down here than a 10x on a price that's all the way up here, type of thing, right? So I'm just looking at this purely as a trader, and putting aside any philosophical or political opinions on it. So I bought some just to have some, and I have all down here, I have even more orders to buy more. So what could happen is this could just dump and completely die. So I'm taking a risk right now, right? Like I'd say it's fairly risky move, and I'm gonna say, like, if you decide to play this game, don't invest more than you can afford to lose, right? So I'm throwing a few Bitcoins at this. I'm not going like full on per se, but how hard, at the very least, how hard would it be to get a double and get my money, get a double, sell half, and get my money out, right? So let's see what happens. I'm willing to take this risk because the situation to me just seems very interesting, and it's all up in the air. Like, the only rules are the rules we're creating right now. So who knows what's going to happen, right? Who knows how this is going to unfold and twist and turn. So I just wanted to have a little bit of stake in the game, just in case this actually really turns into a thing, right? And if it doesn't, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking the risk. So I'm only risking money I can afford to lose. So that's my thoughts right now. So I did buy some ETH, and I'll probably I have some lower orders on the books. I'll probably buy more. I might be more inclined to maybe size in more depending on what price discovery is once it hits Bitfinex, because once it hits Bitfinex, everyone who had ETH pre-fork is going to get ETH. So I'd be curious to see how much dumping is going to happen, if the price will be brought down even more. But right now, even some Ethereum users are incentivized to potentially make money off of this, right? So especially, let's say, Ethereum whales, people who have tens of thousands of coins type of thing. So I asked myself the question, at the current price that Ethereum's at right now, what's the chance of it doubling in price or doing a 10x? Well, when the coin is like what's the price? $12.60 or $13. Doubling is a lot of volume, right? That's like doubling your market cap to $1 billion. But when so they're at $1 billion market cap, but Ethereum Classic isn't even at 100 million yet. They're number 6, so they're at 75. So a double to me seems a lot more plausible. And what could happen is we might even see some people dumping expensive Ethereum on the new fork and buying cheap ETH Classic. So these are just the thought process that go through my head. So the question I ask myself is, if this turns into a thing, will I kick myself for not having bought some and not seizing, not trying to find an opportunity where things look really kind of scary for people, or where there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt? Usually that's when there's the best buying opportunities. I mean, we saw this during the Dow, when the Dow was trading for pennies on the dollar. Anyone who bought some dirt cheap Dow, eventually prices went back on par. There was actually arbitrage. I didn't buy any Dow at those prices. I was thinking about it, but I didn't because of all the fundamentals. But in hindsight, it's like, well, I probably should have, right? When we saw Ethereum and its major dump, after the hack, just when it looked the scariest, that's when it was a good buying opportunity, right? So in my opinion, I think the bear trend is still very much intact. It's Ethereum here now. Now I'm over in Ethereum, has actually hit, really respected this resistance level. And if we can look over on the charts, you see support, resistance, support, resistance. So this is definitely like a mid range, almost like a magnet area for our current range. So the market's kind of respected this resistance, and so the price is dumping now. So let's see what transpires. But I don't necessarily think ETH Classic is looking Ethereum one way or another, whether it survives or not. It doesn't make Ethereum seem very bullish, in my opinion. I still think that the bear trend is intact until proven otherwise, right? We still haven't crossed over this resistance level. So so that's my thoughts right now on Ethereum. I'm just looking at this as a trader. I'm not trying to get too caught up in the politics of it all. So that's just my thoughts. I mean, this could turn into something, or it could just fizzle out, right? It could fizzle out and die, but liquidity is what's really important. Liquidity is what makes a market, right? As long as there's liquidity, you're going to have miners, and you're going to have merchants, and you're going to have developers incentivized to want to add something to it, right? And some people are kind of, like in the Ethereum community, are kind of pissed off and calling Ethereum Classic a scam or whatnot. But this is the free market, right? And if they feel like they could have community consensus or a democratic process to hard fork to get a bailout or to get their money back, then they should realize that not everyone agreed to that hard fork. They didn't have 100% consensus. So those who disagreed with it have every right to stay on the original chain and to try to maintain it and keep it going. So it's a very, very interesting case study right now. I find it, this is all experimental, right? This, we don't have any precedents. We're treading new uncharted territory. So that's my thoughts. I just wanted to share my thoughts on ETH Classic right now and why I decided to buy some. But again, I don't recommend, if you are going to play this game, I don't recommend investing more than you can afford to lose. And understand that a massive Ethereum or Ether whale who has a whole crap ton of ETH, understand that they could dump, right? They could see 2,000 Bitcoins on the order book and just dump all their coins. But there's over 2,000 buy orders. They have more. ETHC has more buy support than any other altcoin on Poloniex right now, which is interesting. Like Liska's number 3, and it only has 277 Bitcoins in buy support, right? Think about that. Ethereum Classic has over 2,000 Bitcoins in buy support, and I saw it growing today. It's growing, so that kind of got me curious. I said, well, there's obviously buying demand, and there was a lot of dumping that happened today. There were millions of ETHC that were dumped. So, we'll see what happens, right? Yeah, and it's it's possible that whales might be holding the price up. It's possible that it might turn into a pump and dump or whatever. And if it does, well, I'm gonna cash out on it, right? I have my sell orders stacked up on the books, so. I've got some sell orders up here, and I've got some sell orders above 0.01 in case it turns into something, and we'll see, right? What I did notice though is that it looks like it has a lot of support along here, like it's kind of established a bit of a floor. It's going sideways, so if the volume stays high, then it's interesting. And even the event, this is why I hedge and I do my 33.66, because I got lower orders down here. So even if someone dumps, that just means that I'll get a whole bunch of these things for dirt cheap. So it's kind of like, either way, it's kind of a win-win. The only thing that wouldn't be a win is if liquidity just went away and if it just died, right? But as long as the liquidity stays, number 2 on Poloniex, and we'll see what liquidity it gets on Bitfinex. This could be interesting. This could be very, very interesting. So, or if there's a 51% attack, for sure. Like, there's a big miner who decided that they're going to conduct a 51% attack on the network, but I've noticed since that announcement was made, the hashing power of their network went up because it's more profitable for miners right now, right? It's more profitable for miners. You have to understand that at the end of the day, the profit motive is what rules in these markets. People can feel all philosophical and political about, pro hard fork, anti hard fork, but the thing that's really going to incentivize people is if they can make money. And if miners can make more money mining this than Ethereum right now, then you better believe that some miners are going to do it, right? If traders can make more money trading it, then there will be liquidity. So, and again, like every Ethereum holder who had Ether prior to the hard fork now also has Ethereum Classic. So unless they just automatically dump, this could turn into a thing. And I would almost see it as more logical to sell the coins on the really expensive chain to buy 10 times or 12 times more on the cheaper chain, right? You start to get into that kind of financial incentive, right? And the thing is, if you build a dApp on the regular or the new Ethereum chain versus a classic chain, then it's open source. That dApp could also potentially be used on the other chain, right? So right now they still kind of are compatible. So it's kind of interesting. It shows that no matter what, there are consequences, right? It shows that if you create a faulty smart contract that's too big to fail. See, this is the difference between a centralized system and market versus a decentralized. See, if this whole thing happened in a centralized market that's controlled by regulators or whatever, then what would happen is if they decided to bail out or hard fork or whatever, then they could use the law and prisons and whatever to force you into not supporting the old chain. Like they could just shut down the old chain and make it illegal and then get everyone to support the new fork. But because this is a decentralized free market, there are no rules like that. There's no one to force you to choose one or the other. It's completely based on whatever the heck people decide they want to do. And the rules of the game are always changing and evolving. So this is why it's a very interesting experiment. It's a be grateful to be alive and witness these social experiments that are happening right now, because this is like some historical precedents, uncharted territory that our civilization has never experienced before. So I find the whole thing very very fascinating and exciting. So do we have any questions? And also, I just want to be very clear. I'm not against Ethereum, and I'm not against Ethereum Classic. I know I did write an article talking about some of the reasons why, 5 reasons why I felt that the hard fork was a bad idea, or bad for Ethereum. But I wrote that purely through the perspective of them contradicting their value proposition. That was like my main point. Do I think that the DAO hacker should get away with 5% of the ether and all that stuff? Not really. It was kind of theft, but I try to stay as neutral as I can on this one, which is why I want to look at it as a potential opportunity, right? Oh, there's a waiting list for Steem, huh? Interesting. Okay, so Chaparro is asking, can you please explain what ETHC is, or ETH Classic? Okay, so here's what happened, right? So I'll give you the whole thing in a nutshell. They had the DAO smart contract. There was a bug in it. Hacker found a way to exploit the bug. Drained like 5% of all ether out of it. And initially they were going to do a soft fork. A soft fork is just a client update for miners, but it's still compatible. It's still on the same chain. It's just they were going to kind of blacklist that those ether initially, but realized that could lead to like a denial of service attack and potentially hurt the network. So they decided to hard fork and The hard fork is basically rewriting the history of the blockchain so that the hack didn't happen. So they did that hard fork, and then they got a majority of the hashing power to support the hard fork. So Ethereum went down that road. But because not everyone agreed with it, let's say, I think at least 13 or 15% of the Ethereum community disagreed with it. They decided that they wanted to keep the old chain alive. So some of them continued mining the chain to keep it alive. And basically, since Poloniex added it, they just added liquidity, and therefore the hashing network increased because now miners have liquidity to sell their coins. So basically, ETH-C is the Ethereum, or is the Ether from the original chain, and Ethereum or Ether is the Ether on the new chain. So anyone who had Ether before the hard fork and had their coins on Poloniex, or I guess maybe Bitfinex will be the same case, prior to the hard fork, will get an equal amount of Ether and ETH-C, and now it becomes a choice, and people can just kind of vote with their dollars or whatnot. So does that make sense? Excellent, excellent. All right, I'm going to, I'm going to stop the recording.